Olivia is my name. I'm 30 years old. My mother and I share a little flat. We were content together, even if life wasn't always easy. I was 15 when my father died. Since then, my mother and I have been alone. She put forth a lot of effort each day to improve my life. More than anything, I loved her. My best friend was her. We gathered every evening to discuss our days. Despite her fatigue, she never failed to smile. I was strengthened by her smile. I was employed at a nearby school as a teacher. My heart was constantly concerned about my mother, even though I liked my students. Her health was poor and she was becoming older. There were days when she was too weak to move from her bed. I didn't make much money, but I wanted to do more for her. She was resting on the floor when I got home from work one day. My heart stopped beating. I rushed forward to take her hand. "Wake up, Mom," I sobbed. She had icy hands and a pale face. She was transported to the hospital after I called for an ambulance. There was seriousness on the doctor's face. "Your mother has a weak heart," he added softly. "Surgery is necessary for her, but the cost is high." My eyes welled up with tears. I didn't have much cash on hand. I was powerless. In the hopes that she would stay with me, I sat by her bed every night and held her hand. I muttered, "Please don't leave me." Weeks passed. I put in more effort than ever before. I taught individual lessons and attended extra classes. Even if I saved every cent, it was insufficient. It began to rain one evening as I was making my way home from work. My clothing was soaked, and I didn't have an umbrella. I was worn out and depleted. I was afraid, but I wanted to be strong. What would happen if I lost her? There was a note in the mailbox when I got home. It was nameless. My hands were shaking when I opened it. There was a little note inside. "Look after your mother while she has surgery." The letter also contained $20,000. My heart pounded. This was sent by whom? Why? I had no idea. Yet it was sufficient to keep her alive. I accompanied my mother to the hospital the following day. I prayed for a miracle while waiting outside throughout the lengthy surgery. Hours went by. At last, the physician emerged. "The surgery went well," he remarked quietly. "Your mom will be all right." My eyes welled up with tears. I rushed to her room and embraced her. I whispered, "Mom, you're secure." My mother returned home a week later. She smiled warmly once more. Slowly, things improved. I continued to wonder, nevertheless, who had assisted us. I never found out who sent the money for months. However, one day a man entered my classroom when I was teaching. Daniel was his name. He had gentle eyes and was tall and quiet. He stated, "I wanted to see the teacher who had transformed my sister's life." His sister, a timid young woman who had previously struggled in my class, came to mind. When no one else had assisted her, I had. I whispered, "It was you. My mother benefited from your assistance." He gave a soft smile. "You showed generosity without expecting anything in return. That's what I wanted to do." After that day, Daniel was more than just a stranger to us. He made a friend. He frequently came to visit, bringing me kind words and flowers for my mother. Daniel became a part of our lives as the days went by. Every weekend he came, bringing something with him. Books for me, fresh fruit for my mom, or just his kind grin. He was liked by my mother. Her face brightened when he entered the room, and I could see it. "Daniel, you look after us like family," my mother said with a kind grin one evening after supper. He chuckled softly. "You both mean a lot to me," he said, briefly looking into my eyes. A beat skipped in my chest. Daniel stayed to assist me with dishwashing after my mother went to bed. Other than the sound of running water, the kitchen was silent. He murmured quietly as I passed him a plate to dry. "I didn't just help your mother because of what you did for my sister," he said. "Olivia?" Confused, I turned to face him. Then I whispered, "Why?" He seemed to be looking for the proper words as he looked down. "Because you're important to me." He spoke in a kind but uncertain tone. "You were unique from the moment I laid eyes on you. Your strength, your kindness." I couldn't simply leave. I was speechless for a moment. My heart was both full and weighed down by fear. I had previously lost a great deal. Was it okay to let my heart open once more? He hurriedly added, "You don't have to say anything now. I only wanted to express my feelings to you." Unsure knowing how to react, I nodded slowly. My head was still terrified of losing someone else I loved, even while my heart was thankful. Daniel remained the same for weeks. He had patience. I was never pressured to respond by him. He remained by my side instead. Through my mother's recuperation, my exhausting work days, and my periods of uncertainty. My mother and I once watched the sunset together while sitting on the porch. Soft pink and orange were used to color the sky. "Olivia, you're strong, but you don't have to carry everything alone," she murmured softly as she turned to face me. I was deeply moved by what she said. I became aware of how much I wanted to trust people again, and how much I had been holding back. I invited Daniel to join me for a walk the next time he visited. The fall foliage crunched underfoot as we walked around the park. At last I spoke, my heart thumping. I whispered quietly, "Daniel, I don't want to lose you, but I'm afraid to let someone in." He came to a halt and looked at me. His eyes were understanding and loving. He assured Olivia that she would not lose him. "I'm here to stay and I'm not leaving." I felt safe for the first time in a long time. He held my hand tenderly as I reached for it. Months went by, and our love deepened, as though he could sense how brittle my heart was. I smiled more and my mother got healthier. The agony I used to carry was lessened when Daniel was by my side. After supper one day, Daniel got up and pulled a tiny box out of his pocket. He knelt down in front of me, and my heart raced. "You taught me that kindness can change a life," he remarked quietly, referring to Olivia. "Mine was altered by you. Are you going to wed me?" My eyes welled up with tears, but they were tears of happiness. Unable to say, I nodded. "Yes," I muttered. "Indeed, Daniel." Daniel put the ring on my finger as my mother joyfully clapped her hands. I came to a significant realization at that same moment. I was once broken by life, but I was healed by love. Even though I had lost everything, love eventually found me. And I didn't hesitate to hang on to it this time.